Blackburn Rovers captain Lewis Travis has now gone to Derby Rovers at this stage. I've seen the time Diaz as well, mental. Anyway, in this video we're going to see if Lewis Travis can be replaced on the pitch or not with the arrival of Moussa Baradji coming from Switzerland. Right, so here we have all the data from the Championship, and I've cheekily added Baradji in here. Obviously, it's quite difficult because the Swiss League compared to Championship, it's not easy to compare because obviously Swiss League, they got some really good teams in there, but they kind of, it's quite a big gap in terms of standard between the best teams and the worst teams. In the Championship, as we know, anyone can beat anyone really. But if we put him in here, as you can see, he's actually ranks pretty well and certainly better than Travis in terms of in the rankings. So obviously this just is a standard central midfielder. He ranks 13th out of 77 players in the Championship. Obviously Hackney coming first, who has obviously had a lot of interest over this transfer window. But if we actually look at, for example, what Travis is best at, which really is ball winning midfielder. So Travis, that's his highest position actually out of all these tactical roles. So Travis comes in at 23rd. But as you can see, Moussa Baradji actually comes in at first place for being a ball winning midfielder. And if you look at specifically what Blackburn kind of need from their midfielders, the way Ismail wants to play, it's more box to box. Baradji again ranks much higher than Lewis Travis. So Baradji coming in 5th place there and coming as the most underrated in the league actually. When you look at his transfer value, which I think to be fair is, I mean, these transfer values are not mine. They're from a transfer market. And I think this is a bit outdated, to be honest with you, because I don't think we would have paid 125,000 for him. If we did, great. But in any case, you can see in terms of the best value ranking, he's all the way up there at the top. And then looking though in terms of when you look at the most well-rounded and most reliable players in the league, Travis and Tronstad, obviously they were the two Blackburn's midfield as well. The midfield partnership from last season. They rank higher than him. So basically what that means is Baradji, in terms of what's important for a box-to-box player, is better than Travis and Tronstad, but the actual all-round game of Tronstad and Travis is better than Baradji's basically. So you can see kind of going across these different factors, obviously stuff that's important for a box-to-box midfielder. So aerial duels 1, to be in both boxes, Baradji is obviously quite high up. And then in terms of shots on target as well, high up, the percentage-wise is also in the top 25 percentile. So this for dribbles is high, progressive carries is high, but then as you can see, as we go more towards the technical stuff, he kind of seems to fall off a cliff edge essentially. He's not really in the tops here, in terms of passes, shot assists, etc. He's quite low down the rankings really, all the way down here, bottom 25%. So yeah, so someone who fits the style that we want to play, but all-around game not necessarily the best. So here on this graph, you can see Baradji is one of the better dribblers in the whole of the Championship. If you put his stats from Switzerland in there, it would come out as the 3rd most successful dribbles per 90. Only really Kuzmin a better overall dribbler because when you look at the amount of dribbles he's had, it's way above the 50 percentile mark, which is here. Where all these players are more kind of clumped together. And in terms of the actual dribble success rate, it is pretty much bang on the median for the league, which obviously the more dribbles you have, the more impressive that becomes. Because you've got players here like Dozzell, Thompson, for example, who do have a high success rate, but then they don't actually dribble much in a match. It kind of, has less meaning behind it, if you like, because there's, not really many dribbles to actually go by. Then here, when we compare, they're all kind of all-round attributes. You can see Baradji, generally speaking, comes out on top. Aerial defence, obviously, is actually the best in the league at that. Quite high on ground defence as well. Travis, obviously, that's his game, beating him just by a little bit. Obviously, higher with dribbling, play involvement, but less so on the creativeness side, passing side. Doesn't perform too well, but still better than the current midfielders Blackburn have. So this is the benchmarked attributes, so compared to the best in the league, and then these are percentile attributes, so basically giving a ranking of where they situate in terms of the league rankings for each attribute. So passing, you can see here Baradji is one of the worst in the league at it, but realistically the play stats are actually quite grouped together. So Baradji is one of the worst, but realistically they're all more or less the same. But certainly Baradji, I think, is someone that's going to be a bit more direct in terms of the way he plays, but not necessarily that creative spark that we'll get from, obviously Todd Cantwell on the Blackburn side. It's more his role. So it seems as though Baradji is going to be more of a driving force, more box to box, obviously good at finishing, and obviously aerial defense. So obviously defending wise, that's going to be very good. Ground defense as well, dribbling, like we said, it highly involved with play. But on the creativity side of things and passing side of things, obviously, it's not as good as his other attributes. So realistically, like we said before, it looks like Baradji's going to drive the team more from his carries and dribbles as opposed to passing. So here you can see he's actually quite consistent underneath the league average. So progressive passes, success rate, actually in terms of actual number as well. Passes to final third, quite low. So obviously you can see it a bit more drastically when you actually look at the league ranking for those different stats. It doesn't rank the highest, so it's going to be up to other players to really kind of get the team forward from a passing sense. Obviously, him in terms of progressive carries is quite high, and dribbling, like we saw here below, is also significantly high in terms of the league rankings. And here, directly comparing the two, so Baradji is a few years younger than Travis. Like we said, obviously came over from Switzerland. Height-wise, surprisingly, they're actually the same size. Baradji actually a tiny little bit smaller than Travis, which is surprising when you look at the amount of aerial drills Baradji's won. Even weight-wise, coming in lower as well. Both of them seem to play the majority of the games, around about 65% of the games. They ended up playing in both the respective leagues. Obviously in Switzerland, they play, I think, 38 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, still played a fair chunk of it, which, hopefully means they'll stay injury free, even though he's starting off with a foot fracture, I believe, or something like that he's operating on. So, not the best of starts, but, and like I said, most suited role for both of them is bowling midfielder, but I think Travis is more based on that, whereas Baradji was so also, in terms of being a box-to-box midfielder, is also ranks quite high on that. And then just a stat comparison, going over again what we've seen before, which is, Travis seemingly is better when it comes to basically sitting in there and defending, mopping up, and getting the ball forward to more creative players, whereas Baradji seems to offer more of an attacking threat, so, non-penalty goals per 90, shots on target, expected assists, dribbles, progressive carries. So he seems to, be more of a progressive player, like we said, in terms of bringing the ball forward. Whereas Travis, his main job seems to kind of a bit sitting in that middle, getting the ball forward to more creative players, and he just sits back and mots up, which he does very well. But Baradji, I'm expecting to be a bit more mobile on the pitch and bring a bit more emphasis in the attacking areas, which, like I said, something Ismail wants to play, something he's looked at in the recruits he's got so far, wants more direct players. So, on the paper, he looks quite promising. Like I said, in terms of ranking in the league, he ranks quite high. So, listen, let's see when he gets back from injury what he's like. Hopefully, he can bring that attacking emphasis that we need, because Tronstad, like we saw, doesn't particularly offer that. So, yeah, fingers crossed he can have a good career in blue and white. I certainly hope so, and wish Travis all the best, obviously, moving over to Derby. Kind of, a bit salty. I thought the Derby have got all our players and our manager at the moment, but hey, we'll see how they do.